Aw. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Is somebody talking to me? Is that Stacy?
Yes, yes, it is. Hi, how are you?
Good. My dog looks like the dog in that picture. Come over here, Peachy. Come here.
Oh, you have
Come
a
here.
retriever?
Look. Come over here. Oh, come here.
This
Oh,
is our baby here.
Peachy, come here.
I don't know if we can- let's see here. How do we?
Everybody. No, you can't touch.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny. I'm the one presenting today. We'll wait a couple minutes for stragglers to get here. Are we showing our pets right now?
Yes.
My two.
Awesome.
My two.
Retrievers, yeah. Mine are in the other room because they'll be noisy.
Okay, out you go. Out. Out. Out you go. Out.
I've always been, I'm a kind of a favorite dog person. I had cats briefly, but I do better with dogs. I'm definitely a dog person. The dog people, we
Same
cat
here.
people. Hopefully they'll both
We
be
had
showing
lots
us.
of cats, but now we have dogs.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have both, but I don't know. I have a hard time just getting my dogs to tolerate the chickens, so I don't know about the cats too. Go nuts. Want more animals in the house? So we've got chickens, we've got a guinea fowl, we've got snakes and spiders and stuff like that. Oh, yes, this is a very farm-friendly kind of house. So we're going to talk today some of the details about using essential oils with pets. So make sure you have your questions with you because I'll be here to answer questions. And are you guys already in doTERRA? Or are you still learning?
I'm about 6 weeks fresh and in Elite, but I have been using essential oils, although they weren't doTERRA, for about 4.5 years.
Okay, and you're in now, you've been in 6 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, and you're Elite already?
Yes.
Oh, good job.
Thanks.
You must be are you following the 6 weeks to Elite program?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. So the more resources you can get, the better. Wish you were on my team, but that's okay. So I'm glad that you are enjoying doTERRA and you're selling with it. That's great. So you did 6 weeks to Elite. If you can get to Elite in 6 weeks or even 8 weeks, you just do that 2 more times and then you're silver. And then you're making like $1,000 a month, right? So
exactly.
So just reproduce it 2 more times and you are there, girl.
The big thing for us was during COVID here in Canada. I do acupuncture with tuning forks and sound. So I didn't have access to be able to touch my clients at all. And I had to be able to have accessible things to give them so that they could continue with their self-care while.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what ended up, doTERRA fell into my lap for a good reason. So.
Well, sometimes it's just timing, right?
That's right.
And then hopefully you'll get back to the old ways too, and you'll be able to, integrate them both together. So
Exactly.
And it's funny because I had my own experience, which actually led me to using essential oils with my pets because I use them all the time with me, and I figured, yeah, they're around them and stuff like that. But then I had a chance to specifically use them for specific issues. So
oh, wow.
With my own story, it's like, first of all, vets are really expensive. I don't care what country you are in. The pets are unbelievably expensive to take to the vet, right? And so we want to take care of them at home. And then we have to remember, pets don't complain. They are so unbelievably tolerant of us. And they don't complain when they're hurting or they're ill. And a lot of times it's hard to tell when your pet is off. You have to really be paying attention. And so I always look for things like when my pets come in from outside, because they're outside most of the day, they'll come in and I check them. I check their skin, see if they've cut themselves. It happens sometimes. They'll get abrasions. Sometimes they even have little skin infections, things like that I want to make sure I take care of right away. And we have been lucky. We haven't any pests and, as far as, weird bug bites and stuff like that, other than the occasional flea. And whenever I see one of those, of course, I grab my Terra Shields and that takes care of that problem. But my dog recently got a tumor, a very weird looking tumor that grew out of his paw. And it was a tumor. It looked like he was growing another paw out of his the base of his paw. It was really weird. I had to have it removed surgically. But I used essential oils in the healing process. My vet was amazed at how fast that healed. Absolutely phenomenal. And now I know, because he's cancer prone, let's say, I want to use preventative measures to keep his cells healthy. And that's what I'm using the oils for now, is to prevent him from having any other issues as he approaches his like middle age, right? So I've had lots of chances to use them. And I'm going to present here some of the ways you can use them. And I want you to follow up. If you are, you know, really amazing pet owners and they're your best friends and they're your family and you want them to live as long as they possibly can live, long, healthy life, then you need to take care of these little things as they develop and as pets age and as they get into things, because that's what pets do, right? So I urge you to get some other resources besides just this class. This is kind of introductory thing, but there are other things out there. So doTERRA has a couple wonderful podcasts on pets and solving some basic issues with pets. They also, in their living magazine that all the members get, they always have stories on pets. This is one they did on pursuing essential oil safety with cats and dogs. This one was caring for our farmyard family, because we know also that we can use them with things like horses. I use it with my chickens too. We can't use it much with chickens, but I do put a little bit of oregano in their water to help them not suffer respiratory issues. So that's a really, you know, important thing you can do with these. So keeping in mind that you can use essential oils, you know, we don't know much about using them with reptiles, of course. So there's exotic pets, and it's hard with birds because birds are so tiny, and you always have to remember how small the person or thing you're working with is. So we treat our pets much like we treat our infants. They are very small beings, right? And for your larger pets, they get more and more towards, you know, being a lot more like us and being able to tolerate the amounts that we use. But keep in mind, there's rarely a dog that's heavier than us, right? So you want to make sure you're taking care of them appropriately. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Again, I am just I'm an educator and wellness advocate with doTERRA. Some of you guys might already be with doTERRA on different teams. On my own team, like Barbara I know is on my team. I think Gloria is too. So, you know, thank you for coming and learning more, because we want to keep learning how to use the oils appropriately. And we really want to help you give your pet the best level of care you can possibly do. And so obviously essential oils just make sense. So let's dive in. I misclicked. Okay, there we go. Let's dive in. So I did my welcome. Okay, so what's that smell? Well, most of us are aware that pets have a really keen sense of smell. But did you know how magnified cats and dogs' little noses are? So dogs have over 220 million smell receptors, and cats have 45 to 80 million. Now, in comparison, we humans only have about 5 million. What amazing difference that is. And, you know, understanding that is part of what I kind of know about doTERRA that I've studied in other facets of this business. But we have olfactory receptors all over our body. Our skin is a huge source of our olfactory receptors, and they are in the hair follicles. So it just makes sense, because we all know that our pets are hairier than we are. At least we hope so, right? So they have a lot more follicles. And that's why they basically smell with their skin more than we do. And that's why they sense things before they happen. I mean, how many of you have a pet who will tell you when a storm's coming? Yep, we see that, right? They're acting different. We're like, something's going on. Something's going to happen. Earthquake, storm, whatever. They are keenly aware.
Jenny, you're locked out.
Okay. Can you see me again?
Mm-hmm. Your voice cut out.
It just cut out? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay now?
You're fine now, yes.
Okay.
My internet connection's fine, so I checked.
Yeah, and I'm on a hardwired. I don't use Wi-Fi.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So I'm surprised when it blocks out. But if it does,
Yeah.
if it continues, I'm going to have to find out why.
Okay.
Anyway, where did you get? You got their smell receptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we really need to understand how we properly use essential oils around pets because of their very keen sense of smell. So if you're not careful, you know, you may unknowingly cause them like skin irritations, allergies, or other unwanted side effects, of course, while you're diffusing your essential oils or even using them around your home. So we're gonna look at some of the basic guidelines of using oil safely around your pets. First of all, kind of obvious, choose the right quality oil. We don't want to use the store brand oils because we just really don't know what they are. You want to be very careful with the company you choose, because a lot of these oils out there are contaminated, they're adulterated, and they're not labeled correctly for you to use with your pet. So that's why we recommend doTERRA, because we know the quality. We know what doTERRA is all about. We know they do all this amazing testing, so we really know what's in it. On the flip side, doTERRA is super, super potent. So we do need to realize that as well when we're using the oils. So we're going to learn today, you know, how to use them properly with your pets. Now you first So again, you want to be careful with low quality oils. Sometimes they go through processing that destroys the health and therapeutic benefits of the pure essential oils. And that's why we use doTERRA, which we'll discuss a little bit more in depth. So test oils in small doses. When you are using an oil with your pet, it is really important. Same thing we do with infants. When we're using them with little people, little pets, we want to make sure that we're testing it in small doses first. You can always do more, but you don't want to overdose them, you know, when you're doing it. So to avoid toxicity or making your pet sick, this is a gorgeous cat, by the way. I love this cat. On the picture.
I love calico cats. They're so pretty.
I know.
And they're always female too.
Are they really?
Yes.
The males don't have that coloring? Oh,
It has something to do with genetics, that it only comes out for female cats, and I don't know the science behind it.
Oh, I don't know either.
But that would definitely be a female cat.
Okay. So anyway, it's important to keep in mind that just because an oil is considered safe for your pet doesn't mean they will all be right for your pet. Just like, you know, we have our own tolerances to various substances, even oils. There are some oils that we don't do well with. Each of us may have experienced that in the past. Your pets can have the same kind of reactions. So when you're using an oil for the first time, you want to start out really slow by testing just a small amount around your pets to make sure there are no visible side effects. So you ask, what are those side effects we're looking for? We're looking for things like wheezing, shaking, whining, sniffing, nervousness, and excessive scratching. So what you want to do to test it is begin by adding 1 to 2 drops of a pet-friendly oil to a diffuser and allow that scent to permeate the room in 15-minute intervals. That's why we like those diffusers that turn on and off, that are intermittent diffusers, because they always allow for some downtime. So we do like that. Allow that scent to permeate the room. And that can be very calming to an anxious pet, right? We've dealt with that in the past, and a lot of us will use Serenity oil on their front paw simply to help them with that anxiousness and stress. 4th of July, New Year's, we're always using that with our dogs, because otherwise we find our dogs in some very strange places as they try to escape the loud noises and everything. Always remember, when you're working with pets, keep the door open, allow any animals to be able to wander to a more comfortable space. So it's very important, if you're using this on a pet that may have some issues, maybe they aren't mobile. If you're using this with an immobile pet, make sure you're watching very intently for any reactions to the oils, because they can't get away from it voluntarily, right? So you want to make sure that you give them the chance to get away or to let you know that they're not working right for them. If you're using them topically, never apply an essential oil without first diluting it in a carrier oil. So your olive oil, your coconut oil, various oils you can use, almond oil. There's so many different, fatty acid based oils that you can use. And the oils on their own really can be way too potent for a 4-legged friend, and really even for you. We don't recommend full strength oils on your body. So there's a few options when you apply the diluted oils topically. You can apply them directly to affected areas of the body. So let's say, and this happened with me, so my dog had an infection on his back, and it was obviously pussing, and I thought I'd have to take him to the vet. So I got out my mixture, which I made with frankincense, lavender, and just a tiny bit of tea tree oil for a dog, and I put in a lot of carrier oil. And then I just put it in my hands, and then I just rubbed his body with it. Rub that area with it, and it worked really, really well. And so I kept using it as it was going through the healing process. That's one way you can do it. You can place an oil on their paws, again, in a carrier oil, but you put it on their paws directly. Avoid, obviously, this is the stuff you should know just intuitively. Don't put oils around sensitive areas. Do not put them around the eyes, mouth, nose, inner ears, and definitely not around the groin of your pet. When applying to horses, do not apply any oils under the saddles and tack, because the friction and heat will drive it in too deeply. So we want to make sure that we're not applying them that way. Another way you can apply oils is if you are using an oil on your pet and you just want them to get the benefit of the oil, put a little bit of oil on your hand, and you can just stroke them like you normally do, petting them on their back. And the oils will move down the hair shaft onto the body slowly. Okay. Feel free to ask questions anytime, guys. Then we have the general do's and don'ts. So these are the things you want to remember with pets. Dilute essential oils heavily with a carrier oil. Start small, use in moderation. Monitor and observe your pet carefully during use. And if your pet does well with it, then you can move on to either other oils or more of that oil. The care for different animals, they're different depending, what breed they might be, the weight that they are, obviously. Make sure to wash your hands before petting animals if you're applying to yourself. So let's say I'm using, like, this is one of the things I don't want to do. I don't want to use the deep blue rub on myself, which is a very strong oil, and then go and pet my cat immediately afterwards, right? Not a very good idea, especially if I pet them too close to their face, right? Because it's a very strong oil. Don't apply undiluted oils directly to their skin, but again, on their fur is okay. It will slowly merge with their natural body oils into their skin that way. Use diluted mixtures when you're using it near their eyes, mouth, nose, or other sensitive areas. Make sure they're super, super diluted if you have to use them in those areas. Like my vet told me to use a apple cider vinegar and water wash for my dog's inner ear. And then I'm applying also the lavender and frankincense just outside the ear, but near it. So because he's having ear issues, right? So I've been applying those myself in a carrier oil. Do not use hot or warming oils such as peppermint, which can burn your pet's skin. So be very careful with those high phenol oils. We know what those are: oregano, clove, thyme, peppermint. Those have to be super, super, super diluted if you do need to use them. We don't use them as a kind of a rule unless we specifically have been taught or told to use them for a very specific condition. Generally, those aren't ones we're going to use because they're what we call hot oils, and we have to be super careful with them. Now, with essential oils and cats specifically, so let's talk about cats briefly. So with a cat, you want to give your cat time to acclimate to the oils you're using by diffusing a very small amount in the house prior to topical application. When you do start topical application, it should be 1 drop for every 4 parts of carrier oil, and apply it gently to the cat's paws. That's usually how we apply it to cats. The approved list to use for cats. So these are the oils you can feel most safe about around cats, because remember, we have lots of options. If we're looking for like a menthol oil, we can choose different ones. We can choose peppermint, which is super strong, or we can go with something milder like spearmint, right? And it has a lot of the same benefits, but some are milder, and those are the ones we'll use like with children. Same thing with animals. So with cats, some of the things we use is we will use cardamom, eucalyptus diffused only, do not put that on them, frankincense, geranium, helichrysum, juniper berry, lavender, lemongrass, marjoram, myrrh, sandalwood, and spikenard. So out of those, like if you have your cat and they've got a cut or scrape or some kind of injury to their skin, I would pick something like frankincense and myrrh. Oh, and another one that they've more recently approved for cats is copaiba. And copaiba is one of the ones that we find is good for just about anything. And we use copaiba a lot internally with our animals, and we'll put it in their food. With cats, you see a lot of people using copaiba and frankincense in the food. And when you're using them that way, it is, make sure you are using basically a 1/4 of a drop. So you want to mix it together, and then mix together several things and put in 1 drop in their food of the total mixture, because you want a 1/4 drop each time, because cats are smaller than dogs.
Is it safe to use Correct X on cats then?
Let me see. Let me see what's in it. I actually would use Correct X on my dog, but with cats we have to be a lot more careful. So let me see what the ingredients are. Okay, I'm gonna need new eyes to read this. Frankincense, helichrysum, yes. Cedarwood. We do use cedarwood occasionally with cats. Melaleuca, I wouldn't. No, there's still a lot of research being done on cats and Melaleuca, so I wouldn't use the Correct X on your cat directly at this point. Yeah, and it's because of the Melaleuca. There's still research being done, because there's a school of thought believes that Melaleuca in very small quantities is fine for cats, and sometimes they are actually used for specific health conditions. But right now, the jury's still out on that. Let's wait and see. So I wouldn't. Go ahead and make your own blend using the ones we know are safe. Because the things you use for Correct X for are going to be things that are solved with frankincense, helichrysum, and myrrh and lavender, which are the 4 skin healing oils. You can use those, and that way you don't have to deal with the Melaleuca. Okay? Okay, so that's a good question. We always get that question too, and it's because of the Melaleuca. We're just kind of scared to recommend that at this point until we learn more. So now
Melaleuca and tea tree weren't even good for pets to begin with. Diffusing it in the air, and now they're changing the risks on that now, but I think it's just because of the grades that doTERRA is using. Yeah, so we do say it's okay to use Melaleuca tea tree around your pets, but you have to be really careful because it is a very strong oil and it metabolizes different in cats.
So you have to be a little bit careful of it. Not that it can't be used. I mean, aromatically, we do fine with Melaleuca tea tree around cats. Right now, it's a question of, do we want to put it on their skin? And if you want more information about that, because this area has been kind of fuzzy for the last couple of years, and there's been a lot of new research. There's a couple resources. One is Janet Rourke, who is the MD, that talks about doTERRA for use with pets. You can find her Facebook page. You could ask her there. And then another one is a Facebook page group called Pause for Essentials. If you don't know about that, it's PAWS, the number 4 Essentials. And there's a lot of really educated people in that group that you can ask specifically. But make sure when you're using something on your pet, you're using it for a reason. If we want good cellular health, especially as our pets are getting older, we know frankincense is a very safe option. So is copaiba. That's really good for the anti-aging qualities. And then we know that lavender's always been safe with pets and very usable, something we always want to benefit from. And then cedarwood, sometimes we'll use cedarwood, especially since it's a good anti-pest oil, right? So we'll talk a little bit about dogs too. When starting a new oil, again, diffuse it around your dog, make sure there's no ill effects. Dilute to a 75% mixture by adding 1 to 5 drops to a carrier oil. Avoid using puppies under 10 weeks unless you need to use it. I mean, if you need to use it on a smaller puppy, the only reason you'd really need to do that is if they were injured, right? Or if you are under a vet's guidance and they have a problem, an actual disorder that you need to use it for, because obviously better do something than nothing, especially if it's a really big problem. The oils that are approved for use in dogs are cedarwood, digest zen, frankincense, geranium, juniper.
Can you slow down just so I can write those down, please? Sorry.
Sure, yeah. Cedarwood,
digest zen.
Digest zen, that's then just in Canada. Frankincense, geranium, juniper berry, lavender, lemongrass, marjoram, Roman chamomile, and more recently, Janet Rourke has come out and said copaiba, also safe for dogs. So it's not that the other ones aren't safe, it's that the other ones are still kind of, being tested and things. So far we haven't found anything that is completely unsafe in a pet. So if there's a reason you're using it, fine. But these are the ones you want to go to first, because these are the ones we've used with pets, for many years. They've been studied extensively, and we know that these will solve a lot of your problems. So again, you see the very common ones: frankincense, lavender, copaiba. Those are the ones you're going to use for healing, right? And then cedarwood is used a lot of times for insect control. And recently, doTERRA just came out with citronella. I'd be curious, because that one is designed to use around pets as well. It's meant for pest control.
Oh, really?
And of course, TerraShield is a safe oil blend that you can put on dogs and cats. And so don't spray it directly on them, guys. If you're going to use it on your pet, spray it on your hands and then pet your pet, stroke your pet to get the oils on them. Or you can spray it on their bedding, which is even a better option. Spraying something directly on your pet a lot of times can give them too much at once. So be careful with that. And if you're going for a hike, it's a good idea. Get TerraShield on them, but spray it in your hands and go ahead and rub your pet all over if you're going on a hike or something with your dog, right? Or if you have an outdoor cat that keeps getting bit by things, obviously make sure they get TerraShield, or if they're picking up fleas or something like that, right? So those are some of the options there. And then looking for those signs of toxicity. So we talked about them briefly a little bit before. It's always important to observe your pet when using a new oil. Common signs again, loss of interest in activity, behavior changes, lethargy, changes in their sleep patterns or in eating habits. If they seem confused, they might have digestive issues. If they get diarrhea, vomiting, or constipation. And if you suspect a serious negative reaction, go ahead and contact your vet. But if you've done it properly, you shouldn't have these problems. In fact, one of the oils that I use a lot with my dogs, and I've seen on the doTERRA podcast channel, they were talking about using on cats as well, is Zengest, Digest Zen. That one is great for any animal with stomach upsets. And we see it all the time. I mean, how many of you have this? Because I have a dog that tends to throw up. If he goes outside and eats something weird, he gets sick every time. And I have a friend who has a cat that seems to vomit all the time too. So you want to make sure they're getting the benefits of the oils rather than throwing up all the time. And what I really like on those, if you really want to get the right dilution on those, if you're working with a smaller dog or a cat, I really recommend getting the Tamer blend. That's a rollerball instead of using the Digestin rollerball because it's been more heavily diluted. If you have a larger dog, then the Digestins and just a 10 milliliter rollerball that's designed for us humans would be perfect for them because you're just rubbing it on their tummy.
Yeah.
Okay. If a cat won't let you touch their tummy, because some cats won't, then it's okay to just rub it along their spine. So sometimes you can't get to the area you have to. Don't fight them on it. Just, you know, it'll get to where it needs to go. It's just slightly better if it's in the area where it's occurring. So now we're going to talk about a few of the oils and what they are for. So, sorry, let me get back to where I was. Okay, so the common conditions that respond really well to essential oils are going to be things like joint discomfort, right? Stress and tension, skin care, the digestive issues they might have, respiratory issues. Dogs and cats do have respiratory issues just like we do, guys. Brain function, especially as they're getting older a lot of times. Mood stability. I mean, how many of you have dogs or cats that sometimes seem like they might have PMS or they're moody? Dogs and cats experience the same things we do, guys. And then you might see something for self-growth and healing. Those are the common conditions that work really well with essential oils for solving those issues. So we're going to talk a little bit about a few of the oils that you're going to want to use. So marjoram is great for skin conditions. It calms the nervous system, it reduces inflammation, and relief from those symptoms really has been shown to alleviate the allergy symptoms. So marjoram is also soothing for stressed muscles and joints and tendons. So if you have a more elderly animal, and the best application is to mix with a carrier oil and gently massage onto their skin 2 or 3 times a week for overall coat improvement, or directly on the irritated skin if they have an irritated area. And those can be things like, I mean, you've probably seen them before, like hot spots. Animals get hot spots. It's a very common thing. They get abrasions if they're outdoors a lot. They can get abraded. Some animals have really bad habits and they chew off fur, which causes their skin to get torn, right? It happens with them too, just like we chew our fingers. Some animals, I've got one that just every night he chews on his front paw. He doesn't have a problem there. There's nothing there. It's just a habit. And so they have habits just like we do. Keep an eye out for any discomfort they might feel. And if you do have an animal that all of a sudden you've applied an oil and they seem uncomfortable with it, apply a lot more carrier oil, just like with us. Sometimes the oils are too strong for us. And I don't know if you guys experience it, but I have with certain oils. And they're too strong and I get a slight burning sensation. If that happens to your dog or cat, they're probably going to respond. They're going to be a little agitated. Just add some more carrier oil. That'll help soothe the area. Do not add more. Don't be tempted to add lavender. A lot of people say, oh, well, they're uncomfortable. It must be itching or something. I'm going to add lavender oil. Don't do that, because if they are having a reaction to the oil and if it's too strong for them, we just really want to dilute it at that point, okay? Cedarwood and myrrh are other options if the marjoram does not work the way you expected it to. So those are two other oils that are really good for skin conditions. Myrrh is one that's it keeps shining as being a really good overall skin care oil for humans, for animals, for everybody. And myrrh, you know, some of these you probably recognize if you use them, like myrrh and copaiba and frankincense. I like those because those are ones, if I put them directly in my mouth, it's not going to bother me. They're not hot oils. So we have the best results with those types of oils because they're very mild. And then, of course, we can't go through this without talking about lavender. So I still think lavender is always a game changer for me. I love it. It's one of the most versatile essential oils. It's the most soothing for pets and people. You know, that oil can be used to soothe pets that have anxious feelings, they're tense, they're stressed, the fireworks are going off, or they're doing, I live by Camp Pendleton, so they've got artillery testing sometimes. My dogs go nuts over that. So we know when that happens, or they might be agitated because they sense an oncoming storm. So a lot of you guys on the East Coast probably experience something like that, or if they're sensing an earthquake happening. And that causes them stress. And so we can use oils to help relax them, just like we do with people, right? And it can reduce hyperactivity. How many of you guys have a hyperactive pet that just always seems to be a bundle of energy? Anybody got a pet that's a bundle of energy? Yeah, I got one of those. I got 3 dogs, and one of them, oh my gosh, he is just, I call him my easy-go-lucky, just whatever dog. He doesn't care, you know, whatever anybody does to him, whatever the other dogs do to him. He's like, whatever, okay. He just goes on. He just always got energy. You know, middle of the night, he wakes up, he's like, okay, I'm ready to play, you know. The guy's like 9 years old, but he still has all this energy. So I would say, yeah, if I was going to, with my psychology degree, if I was going to analyze him, I would say, yeah, he's probably a little bit on that ADD spectrum, right? Definitely. That's definitely my ADD dog. So dogs can have that just like we do, right? It's just a brain disorder. So obviously they can be on that spectrum. So that oil can be a little bit sedative and very relaxing. And that's really good for car ride anxiety, car sickness, those kinds of things. Really good for your pets. So if you get a dog that just is really uncomfortable in the car and gets, that motion sickness and stuff like that, because a lot of times we don't want to use peppermint with them, which would be our first choice, then lavender might be a little bit better option. Or you can add just a tiny, tiny bit of peppermint. Just be careful you don't use too much. And lavender oil obviously can be used topically with a carrier oil to treat burns and bruises, grazes, flea bites, and just really aid wound healing. And lavender has antiseptic and antifungal properties. And then a chamomile and clary sage also can be used to calm those anxious feelings in your pets. So those are two other oils that you can use. And even though these weren't mentioned in the ones that are considered safe, remember that list I gave you of what are considered safe, those are the ones you want to try first. You can use other oils. There's very few oils, and I don't think there's any oil that is considered contraindicated, like you absolutely can't use it. It's just learning how your pet's going to react. We know there's a dozen oils for cats and a dozen oil for dogs that like nobody tends to react to. But then the other ones we have to kind of test our own pet and see if they react to it.
Ginny, it was clary sage, and what was the other one?
Chamomile.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you'd use like the Roman chamomile, right? Okay, so another oil, helichrysum. So if you've used helichrysum yourself, and I use this myself, really amazing for healing. We use this a lot of times for scar tissue. It's a very powerful oil. It's also a very expensive oil. So remember that. It is a wonderful antidote for things that bite, including other dogs or cats, right? So it has antiseptic properties. It helps aid the healing of broken capillaries, soft swellings, broken bones even. Very healing. Also has antibacterial, antifungal properties, and it really should be diluted, obviously, when applying topically. It is fairly strong. It also stimulates the liver, which helps aid in detoxification, which makes it really amazing for animals who have a tendency to vomit or that need to clear their mucus from the lungs. So keep that in mind. That's the helichrysum oil. So again, stimulating the liver, aiding in that detoxification. Again, super, super small amounts. And remember, guys, if you're going to use this oil on yourself, think about what you would use. You're a regular weight adult. You look at helichrysum and you're like, yeah, I'm going to use about 3 drops at a time. Okay, now you look at your pet. And then you take your weight and divide it by your pets. And if you got a 10-pound cat and you're using 3 drops on, let's say, an average 140-pound individual, then you can do the math there, right? How much should you be using with your cat? Right. It's a lot less, or small dogs. So keep that in mind.
Can you use the helichrysum on a cat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like really heavily diluted with a carrier oil. My cat weighs like 8 pounds.
Yeah, heavily diluted. Keeping in mind their size. And then keep an eye on them, and make sure they tolerate it. And, once you use an oil with your pet one time and they tolerate it, then and you're like, yeah, they're fine with that oil. Because that stays fairly stable over time. Our cells, I think they replenish every, 7 years, completely replenish. So for a lot of years, you're going to have the same types of things, reactions and everything like that. And then their system might change. So you always want to be aware when you're using oils around your pets, what they're, just be aware of their mood and everything. Okay, so another oil, cedarwood. So cedarwood we like because why? It repels and kills pests like fleas, right? Who likes fleas? Nobody likes fleas. Why do we have fleas? Terrible invention if you ask me. If I was God, I would do it different, and I have told him so. Okay, so, but we do have a lot of beneficial properties in that cedarwood oil. It is an antiseptic for the lungs. It's an expectorant for coughs. And we know dogs get coughs, right? We've heard of kennel cough. I imagine cats get cough. I've actually never seen a cat with a cough, but maybe some of your cat owners have. Cedarwood is also very stimulating for your circulation. So it works wonders for aging pets if they have joint stiffness, arthritis, back pain. Keep in mind, they're going to have the same problems we do. As we get older, we start having these problems. They do too. They just don't complain. And the only way you notice really is one time your dog's trying to get on your bed and they're struggling, right? And their joints are kind of aching them, so you can see them kind of drag the lower half of their body up. That's when you notice. That's when you say, oh, wait a minute, they're having some issues, right? Because we don't see that, because most of the time they're not going to show us how they feel. They're very durable. It's pretty amazing. And then it also, cedarwood is really good for dandruff. And yes, pets can get dandruff. You can strengthen your kidney function with cedar wood. It's also a general calming tonic for nervous aggression. So if you have dogs that get nervous, and when they get nervous, they tend to nip, that'd be a really good one for them, right? And pets who are really shy or timid do really well with cedar wood. And those who are insecure, they need that, like separation anxiety. How many of you guys have dogs with separation anxiety? Yeah, I have two like that. One is severe. So yeah, that's a tough thing, right? You leave the house and you got to feel guilty because you know that when you come back, they're going to act like you've been away for 10 years, right? So they can benefit from use of cedar wood. Cedar wood is not ever ingested. So you can use these oils obviously internally on pets, just like we can on certain oils. Cedar wood is never ingested by us or our pets, which means if you have cats, you want to make sure that you're using them with an oil that won't promote licking. Cats clean themselves, and you have to be aware of that. Dogs don't do it as much, but cats clean themselves. And that's why we are careful about what oils we put on cats, because we have to assume that if it's on a cat, they're going to be ingested to some degree, right? So when you're using oils on your cats, keep that in mind. Some owners like to put the oils on their cats and then just sit there and pet their cats for a while to keep their cats from doing the grooming thing, because by then the oils have absorbed and then they won't get much in their mouth. So that's another way to treat cats for that specifically. It's just like with my dog. He always licks his right paw at nighttime. I don't know why. It's just a habit with him. So whenever I apply oils, I don't apply them to that paw, knowing that he's going to lick that one. So unless I want him to get it internally, I'm not going to put on that paw. Of course, with my dogs, I have this really great trick. My dogs do not like the taste of lavender. Honestly, most people don't like the taste of lavender. I mean, it doesn't taste very good. Pets are the same way. So when I apply something and I don't want them to touch it, I make sure to put some lavender on afterwards, because then they're not going to do anything. They're like, I don't want to touch that. So that works really well. Then we have our powerhouse of oils, and that is our frankincense. Really good with both dogs and cats. It can be really great for helping with a lot of conditions, because it's considered less potent, but more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's less potent in its effects on people and animals. So we don't see problems with it. We don't see reactions to it, but it is an amazing oil in the things that it can do, because it's so versatile. It solves like almost all the problems we can have, right? Common uses of this are that it's an antiseptic, it's a disinfectant, it's anti-inflammatory, it's calming, it's soothing to the skin, helps reduce scars. It even has been known to help reduce tumors, which is why I'm using it with my dog, because by the time I saw that tumor, it was huge, and so I had to have it removed. But I want to make sure it doesn't come back, so I keep putting frankincense on that spot. It strengthens the immune system. It promotes the healthy development of brain, skin, and cellular function, especially, and helps with digestive issues like constipation. So that can be used in conjunction with something like Digestin for any of those kinds of issues. So frankincense, it's interesting because when I first took my dog to a homeopathic vet, and this was several years ago, she actually recommended that I give him frankincense regularly as he ages. So vets seem to be really on board with that. And I'll talk a little bit more about what vets are recommending with this briefly at the end. So we're almost done here. And geranium. So geranium is another really good, powerful oil that we like to use with animals. I'm not really fond of it. It's very, very perfumey to me. It's got a very strong floral scent, but is really amazing for flea and tick prevention. Probably because they don't like the smell either, right? It's a very, very strong floral smell. Many pet parents have really turned to this natural alternative instead of using other chemical-ridden preventatives. And so this oil also is used to balance hormones. So yes, dogs have hormones, cats have hormones, we have hormones. Everybody's got hormones, right? It helps to enhance blood circulation, boost the emotions, helps reduce feelings of stress and depression. It's also really said to be a wonderful oil to help calm pets that are prone to seizures. So very, very powerful oil when we're dealing with pets. Then we have another one, lemongrass. Now lemongrass was kind of known as a popular insect repellent. Fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes are all repelled because of its really high citral and geraniol content. So like geranium has geraniol, lemongrass also has some geraniol in it. You add a few drops to a glass spray bottle of water, and you can spray that on your pet's coat to kill the fleas. So not only will it keep them away, but also improves the condition of your dog's skin too. If you've ever used like geranium and lemongrass and those things. Those are in like a lot of the products that we use for teenage girls, right? Teenage kids and their skin issues, right? Because it has a lot of really good skin boosting benefits to help your skin clean itself and everything. Same with the animals. So you can use that on dogs and you can use it on cats. Okay, now then we want to talk quickly about safe storage. And this is for any oils you're using for yourself, for your pets, whatever. Always, we want to keep the essential oil bottles and diffusers out of harm's way. We want to make sure that they can't get into them. Store them on a high shelf or closed cabinets. Remember that certain oils are not suitable for ingestion. So make sure you know that when you're storing your oils, you remember which ones are okay for ingestion. And then remember to clean up any spills immediately. Keep diffusers away from places your pet sleeps or eats. And someplace out of reach completely is ideal. Remember, cats get everywhere, right? And they'll knock things over. And you do not want your essential oil diffuser spilling a whole bunch of essential oil on your cat. So in general, you always want to keep your oil stored in dark glass containers, like the amber containers they come in, right? And definitely out of direct sunlight. You don't want to expose them to any high heat because high heat breaks down the efficacy of the oils over time. It doesn't like destroy them immediately. So if you left a bottle in your car overnight, it's okay, guys. But it will start to break down the oils. So you do want to keep it out of heat. Now, if you're a cat parent, got some very specifics for you, okay? So cats are, again, very, very different than dogs, very, very different than us. They metabolize things completely differently. So if you are a cat parent, the ones you want to avoid completely are going to be, let me tell you why first. Citrus scents contain those polyphenolic compounds that may affect how your cat's liver detoxifies, and large doses can cause a buildup of toxins to accumulate in your cat's system. So these oils, if you are using them for yourself, that's fine. Make sure your cat isn't sitting around them, that they have the option to leave the room. If they don't use them in a very small room with a cat around, and don't use them directly on your cat or even on a person who's going to be in contact with your cat right afterwards. So when you use these oils on yourself, don't use like an orange oil, put it on yourself and you got it all over you and then start petting your cat. Wait 20 minutes till it's absorbed into your body. So be aware of these. And the ones you have to be aware of are your citruses like grapefruit, lemon, orange. Then you've got our really hot oils, birch, cinnamon, clove, oregano, tea tree, thyme, and wintergreen. Okay. If you are using any of these oils, because I have heard from experts on doTERRA's podcast that they do use a couple of these oils because they use On Guard. On Guard is a very common oil we do use around our pets. It luckily has a very small content of the offending oils in it. Again, don't use them directly on your cat, but there may be times when you're using them in the environment of a cat. Like On Guard is one I use to clean up any dog or cat messes. If my dog pees on the floor or something like that, I'm using On Guard to clean it up, but it is highly diluted in a very big spray bottle of water. And that way it's not going to affect my cat. There are some oils also to avoid if you are a dog parent. So again, because their dog sense of smell is so much more powerful even than a cat, it means they can be extremely sensitive. So there are irritations when using some of the oils around dogs, and so be aware of that. And this doesn't mean every dog's going to be reacting, but you definitely want to be aware that it may be a sensitizer so that you either avoid it, or if you find that you do need to use it, you monitor it very closely if you have to use it. So if you have to use it for another condition, then it's recommended by a vet. Those oils are clove, wintergreen, thyme, star anise, and juniper berry. Now we mentioned juniper berry earlier as one of the ones that is safe to use around them, but you have to be aware that they can be allergic to it. Okay. Usually this is going to be skin irritations. So we've looked at some of the different things we have to solve problems. Skin irritations is super popular one. Stress when you're having storms. And then daily cellular vitality, we recommend frankincense and copaiba in their food. So what I've noticed is if I put frankincense and copaiba, I just put a drop of each in my dog's food, and he eats dry dog food, it's fine. He'll still eat his food. With cats, a lot of times they're using wet food, so it makes it easy. You can slip the oil in their wet food, and they should tolerate it really well because those are not very strong oils as far as their sense of taste goes.
One drop each for a cat?
For a cat, you're supposed to use a quarter drop of each.
That's like a toothpick in it then, right?
Yes, it is. Yep, you're right. Okay, so because they're so small, or if you have a tiny, they're a little toy dog or something like that,
I have
obviously
a small
it's
dog
not
too.
less. Okay, I put a drop of each. That is an 80-pound dog, just to give you an idea.
Oh, I have a
Yeah,
10-pound
for
dog.
my little dogs, my little 20-pound dogs, they'd probably be okay with a drop of each. Those are really mild oils. You can't really overdose on those because, like with humans, I'm taking 10 drops of frankincense a day and probably 10 drops of copaiba a day.
Mhm.
That's what we take a lot of times for our issues as we get older. So with the dogs, then I'm using a lot less of that because they're smaller. So no more than 1 drop a day. And again, even a cat, let's see if you have a cat that's the same size as a dog. Cats are more sensitive to oils than dogs are. So if you have a 10-pound cat versus a 10-pound dog, they are probably going to use different amounts of the oils. Your cat will use less, simply because of the way they metabolize.
So you could dilute that, say, in vegetable oil or olive oil, right?
Right.
And then give them like a drop of that once it was diluted, right?
Right. And one thing I've been doing a lot of times now, because I did some other research, I've actually been adding a little bit of this oil to coconut oil that I get at Costco, the raw organic coconut oil that's super cheap. And the reason why is I read a study that says that if you give them pure coconut oil regularly, that it helps them not get fleas. And it helps their teeth too.
And they can ingest that too, because you bake with that.
Oil, yeah, because it's it's meant to eat quality. It's the stuff we use to cook with. We get it at Costco, and we can eat that. So yeah, I've been giving it to. Supposedly, it helps clean their teeth, because I don't know about any of you guys with pets. How many of you guys brush your pet's teeth every day? No. How many of you even could imagine doing such a thing? Nope. Yeah, there's no way. My dogs, they get, oh my gosh, they get so annoyed when I try to brush their teeth, and so I don't do it very often. And I'm sure I do a terrible job because, basically you can get in there for about 15 seconds, and then by then they're like pulling away and they're freaking out, right? So we don't do it very often. But unfortunately, that means that their teeth do have problems. And any older dog you're gonna be able to tell. Older dogs, older cats, they have teeth problems. And so one of the things we've done recently is I've been making, for my dog, I've been doing coconut oil and peanut butter treats that they'll actually eat. So I found a recipe. You take equal amounts of peanut butter and coconut oil, and then I added just a tiny bit of, cardamom. They said add a little tiny bit of cardamom, and then you melt these together, and then you put it in. I put it in the little silicone molds that you can get, right? And you put it in the fridge. And then when I'm ready to give them one, I just pop it out of the silicone mold, and I just mold and I just give them one. It's a treat. So, and if you don't like peanut butter, if some pets don't like peanut butter, you can use other things that have that same consistency, like almond butter, sunflower butter, and figure out what your animal likes. And I don't know what you do with cats. Do cats like peanut butter?
Mine doesn't. She doesn't. I don't know. I never tried it on her. The dog does. The dog loves it. Yeah, dogs love peanut butter, but yeah, I don't know about the cats. So have to think about that. But yeah, finding something for their teeth. And cats' teeth don't tend to be as bad as dogs' teeth. I don't know why that is. Maybe because they're smaller or something like that. Because they both, they both live to be about the same age, especially with smaller dogs. But taking care of the teeth is important. Ideally, you want to brush them all the time. But let's be honest. How many of you really are going to do that? It's crazy. It's hard. So those are some other options. So basically, to recap, we just want to remember that if you have a holistic vet, reach out to them because they can help you out. Like I said, Pause for Essentials is a great site. There are some vets on there. Janet Rourke is the vet that is associated with doTERRA, and she has a Facebook page where you can get more information as well. Just because an oil is listed here as being safe for your pet, it doesn't mean it's safe for your pet. Everybody's different. So always test in small doses to make sure that your pet can definitely tolerate it. Contact your vet immediately if you suspect a really severe adverse reaction. I want to make sure also that you are aware of some of the other options you have to learn more. So the doTERRA podcast, again, amazing. I listened to both of them again today. There were 4 different holistic type vets on both of them. All 4 of those vets that talked on those 2 podcasts originally started with regular traditional medicine and found in the last few years that essential oils was a great option for a lot of their patients and did really well with their dogs and cats. So make sure you watch those podcasts. If you do want to find those, just search for doTERRA podcast and look for the couple that they have on animals. Absolutely phenomenal. And again, anytime you're getting your Living magazine, if you're already a member, you're probably getting this. They always run these different articles on animals. They actually had an issue, I can't find mine right now, but it was an issue specifically for talking all about pets, and it had Janet Rourke in it and all that stuff. So I urge you to follow up, with those kinds of things and get even more information.
So I'm going to finish up with a question and answer type of thing. Any questions with this?
I'm considering doing the frankincense and copaiba for my cat and dog. And I was wondering if I took a clean, empty 15 milliliter bottle, because I save them when I use them.
Mm-hmm.
I put like maybe 2 drops of each in that, filled it with my coconut oil that I cook with, and shake it real well, and put a drop or so. Would that be weak enough?
That might actually be too weak. That's actually a lot of dilution. Usually you're looking at about 2 teaspoons per drop for a cat.
Okay.
And a really small, really small dog, and then up from there. So that might actually be too weak, but that's a good idea. You're thinking the right way. Also, I don't know if you thought about this, but remember doTERRA sells those, is it doTERRA that sells it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they sell little spray top that you can put on these empty bottles when you empty them? They have a top that you can twist on and you can make your own blend in there, because you can pull off these labels and you put whatever you want in there.
I buy those. I don't buy them through doTERRA. I buy them on Amazon because they're cheaper. I don't think they sell. I don't know, but I was thinking to put it in like the 15 milliliter bottle, shaking it up real well, and just dropping a couple drops, on their food.
Yeah, because the essential oil will completely merge into the carrier oil. That's what they do. They don't separate, so that's good. You don't even have to shake it before you use it just the first time. So yeah, I would think putting a spray would be even easier, because I could imagine just doing a couple spritzes on their food would actually be easier, because I always worry when I drop it like this that it's all ending up on like one nugget of their food. And then I'm not sure which dog's going to get it, because I've got 3 dogs, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking maybe just spraying it, spritzing their bowl with it might actually be a better way to go with that. So that's a really good idea. Great way to reuse the bottles, right?
Oh, I'd save them all. So
yeah.
Maybe use like 3 or 4 drops of each of the copaiba and the frank, and then fill it with the coconut. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that would be a great idea. I love that. I love that suggestion. That's great, Barbara. Any other questions? Well, good for you. I can see Kelly's out there writing notes. Okay, I got this, I got that. But thinking about your pets in this way, and remembering, because we do the essential oils for us because we're trying to solve problems, right? And we have to remember our pets also have problems, and they are not the ones that sit there and tell us what their problems are. We don't know what they are most of the time. And it's really hard without a really serious, really observing your pet, to tell that there's something wrong, because they're not complainers. They're pretty amazing, aren't they? They don't complain. And so we don't know when something's wrong. So you have to be aware when your pets are getting older. When they're hitting middle age, halfway through their lifespan, you have to realize that they're going to have the same problems we do with our middle age. We're going to start breaking down, right? Which means they're going to have joint issues. They're going to have stomach issues, digestive issues, just like everybody else, right? And then be aware also of what they're exposed to in their daily environment. So they might be exposed to things around your home, or they could be exposed to things if they're going outside. And of course, if you go for walks with your dog, they always come back with those like burrs in their feet and stuff. And you have to watch for all that stuff. As a pet owner, you do have to really watch for that and make sure you're being attentive to your pet and checking their skin. I've noticed, my pets are all middle age, so all of them are around 8, 9 years old, right? And I'm starting to see they're getting growths, and these growths are a lot like what we would call maybe warts. As you get older or something like that, they're getting these growths, and that's not what they are, but they look like something like that. And they're just normal with the aging process. They're benign. They don't hurt them. They don't cause them pain. They're visibly weird looking and everything like that. But I do worry that they are kind of precursors to maybe a cancer of some sort of tumor, because I don't know if you realize the stats, but a lot of pets die from cancer and tumors. And it's because we're not taking care of them the same way we take care of ourselves. We need to make sure they have good quality food, that your food is well balanced, that they're getting a variety of food, because if you feed them the same thing every day, and I don't know if you've ever done these studies, but they found that humans, even a lot of times, we eat 30 foods, and those are the foods we eat most of the time, and we hardly ever vary from those 30 foods. And that's not healthy for us either. We need variety in our diet. And so if you buy the same dog or cat food every single day, can you imagine that's all they're eating every single day, every day of their life? Probably not the best thing for them. You're going to have to find some ways to make some variety there, because that's what's going to happen.
One of the things that we've used with our dogs, especially with us being a medicine hat, we get really high heat temperatures. And so I make watermelon chunks and I put them in the freezer with a drop of lemon on them, just to help them sweat so that they can stay more hydrated in the summertime.
That's smart. Yeah. And dogs do tend to like watermelon. I don't know about you guys, but my dog loves watermelon. They love things like watermelon. They love avocado. I have to be careful because avocado, the outside of the avocado is actually very dangerous for dogs. And so when they get a hold of an avocado, because we have avocado trees, I have to take them from them and then I peel them and give them back the insides because they do love the taste of the avocado, but you have to be careful and you don't want to give them too much. So you have to be really careful with that. So you have to be aware of what things, because there's a lot of things in our environment and in our diets that are not healthy for pets. So we have to remember what those things are and make sure they aren't getting into them. But look for that variety, see if you can use some essential oils. I mean, I saved $1,000 on that vet bill that one time when he had that infection on his back, because I really thought I'd have to take him into the vet because it was an infection. He had obvious pus coming out all over his back, right? And I was just lucky that the essential oils worked so quickly, because by the time I woke up the next morning, it was gone. I was like, oh, it's not infected anymore. It's in the healing stage. I don't need to take him to the vet. I'll just keep doing what I was doing. So that was awesome. And then when he had to have the surgery, you know, they were amazed at how fast he healed. I mean, it was just absolutely phenomenal. And now I just want to make sure I keep an eye on it because, you know, now that I know he's prone to tumors, I have to keep my eye on that and make sure his cells are operating at optimum efficiency. Some other things out there, and I know these aren't doTERRA, but there's some things to think about. Dogs and cats do really well with probiotics, just like we do. So look for ones that are specially designed for pets. So you have to look for those. And then some of the other things you want to keep in mind for your pets is they should probably get some supplementation, just like we need supplementation. You know, even their diet is not perfect because they're drawing from the same food pool we are, right? Which is that food out there that isn't as healthy as it used to be, right? So they are getting everything from that same pool of food. So even if you're buying organic pet food, you're still getting the lower quality of food. Because I don't know if you saw the recent studies. Now they're saying that an orange 100 years ago is equivalent to us eating like 300 oranges today. So that's a huge difference. Now, I don't know how valid that study is. I'd be curious what exactly information they're drawing that from. But it is concerning because we do realize their food quality is going down. And our animals, our pets, are taking from the same pool we are. So they're eating those same foods. So we want to make sure they get their nutrition. So look for a really good quality. Yeah, and let me know if you find one, because I've struggled with finding a really good multivitamin for my pet. I don't know of any that I've actually researched. And doTERRA's, I've been using their A to Z chewable because it's a child's vitamin. I've been using that with my big dog, but I'm afraid to give it to my small dogs because dogs are not people and they have different nutritional needs than we do. And so I don't want to give it to my little dogs because I'm afraid it'll imbalance them too much. And I don't give much to my big dog for the same reason. So if anybody knows of a really good pet vitamin, I would love to hear your thoughts. So just let me know, okay? So any other questions before we go? I hope you found this valuable. I'm trying to do different educational series for my team and for non-members of doTERRA. I have continuing education I'm doing on Thursdays. If you want to go to one, make sure that you let if you're on a different team, make sure you let your team leaders know that you want continuing education because it's something that we all offer. And then I try to, on Wednesdays, I just try to pick up a topic that interests me and I just put it out there for the public like this. So let me know if there's any topics you want me to discuss, okay?
Will this be the same link every week, Ginny?
It will be the same link every week, yes.
For every Wednesday. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
I've had great results treating lumps on my dogs using essential oils mixed with coconut oil. And so I've watched them shrink, and that's been very satisfying to know that essential
What oils are you using for that? Is it the lumps that look kind of like a cyst, like there's nothing exposed? It just they're growing this big old bump coming out of them?
And okay, they get bigger. And they get bigger and they get smaller when you treat them. And that's very reinforcing to know that what I'm doing is working.
What oil are you using for that?
Pardon me?
What oil blend are you using for that?
Lavender, lemon. I think I put a little bit of oil of oregano in. And
wow.
Yeah, I think that's what I used.
Okay, good. So that's something good to know because I've noticed that on all my pets as they're getting older, they're getting what I would call maybe cysts. They just like hard lumps under the skin. There's no broken skin. It doesn't look discolored. I mean, there's nothing weird about it. It's just, they're just growing it and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and I just don't want it there, you know?
If the lumps are movable, then that's good. But if they're attached, that's when they're more serious. If they're attached to the bone or the skin. But if they wiggle around, that's okay. That's treatable by us. And we don't have to have those removed.
Okay, so
L-taurine is an amino acid that is good for, is it for food that is grain-free? Is that why I was giving my dogs L-taurine?
You were giving them to them because L-taurine is for the digestive tract. And so part of the thing about the healthy cells is when you're not sloughing and you're not releasing through your digestive tract, the unhealthy cells that you keep in your body, that L-taurine helps eliminate that in the digestive tract. It's good for gut and brain fauna health.
Okay, good, good.
This is the product that I use here.
Okay.
For I buy this at our pet store here in Canada, and they have pet kelp. It's a plant-based supplement with minerals and vitamins, and it's kind of like chlorella for dogs and cats.
Okay, and it looks like from the back of it, it looks like it has a lot of your trace nutrients in it, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Wonderful.
Wow.
And that's what we're looking for, a lot of trace nutrients. And, you know, ideally we really want our pets to eat a raw meat diet. That's what's really healthy. That's what they're really designed to eat. But that's not how our pets eat. You know, it's just really hard to do because in nature, that's what they were designed to do, to eat raw meat and to actually eat vegetables and stuff like that. Just like like my pets eat whatever we eat. We eat a lot of organic food and everything. We give them our scrap. We try to give them uncooked food, uncooked meat whenever we can get a hold of it. And it's safe. You know, we have to be careful because there's a reason we cook meat. We don't want to get, you know, don't want other illnesses and diseases to creep up. So we have to be very careful with it. But when they're eating just a regular dog food day by day by day, you can see where that could go horribly wrong. So finding other nutrients to give your pets is definitely the way to go. And I don't know, Barbara, do you do anything with your cats? Do they get any extra treats, and do they eat vegetables?
No, she eats Blue Buffalo wet food. She's 15, so I give her the soft food, and she does much better on that. She doesn't have as much vomiting as she did on the hard food. I do mix treats in with it sometimes, you know, just to. But I'm gonna, like I said, I want to try that frankincense and copaiba because it is an older cat, and she has some breathing problems. So.
Oh yes, looking at the breathing issues, you can use some of the oils that we know are good for the respiratory system. And breathe wouldn't be my first choice with a cat. I would use some of the other, you know, respiratory support oils. Definitely more like the copaiba and stuff. How many of you guys are actually using frankincense and copaiba yourself because you know how beneficial that is?
Oh, I do.
Okay. And I do.
I've been in. I was re-diagnosed with cancer myself 2 years ago again. And that's what ended up starting me reusing doTERRA and sourcing it and stuff. And I can't live without copaiba anymore. I've been able to get off a lot of my anxiety meds and things like that. And it's so funny because once Adaptive came out, we have 4 in this house under 8. We have 2 sets of twins that are 8 and 6. And we started diffusing Adaptive, and we noticed our hyperactive dog stopped being so hyperactive.
I know, isn't that amazing?
I know. And I just love that it's natural and that everyone can, you know, benefit from it. So I've started, our little dog that we had was a failure to thrive nurturing adoption that we did, and we weren't supposed to adopt it. We were just supposed to foster it, but we fell in love with her. And so she was finally weighted and healthy enough that she could go be spayed. 2 weeks ago, I used the Correct X for 3 days, and you can't even tell where her surgical wound is. The vet is in shock.
That is a dog?
Yeah, she's a small dog.
Yes, you notice I keep my Correct X handy. I use this all the time. I'm out in the country, so I get cuts and scrapes all the time, and I just wanted to heal faster. You know, and I love the Correct X. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I'd be curious how much tea tree is in it, if it is, you know, what people say about its safety on cats. Because if it's a very, very small amount of the tea tree, then it would be fine for cats, but that's what I'd have to know. And you definitely don't want to put it somewhere where the cat is going to ingest it. That's would be my concern.
Exactly. And even if you put even if you put coconut oil in your hand and then added some of the Correct X to dilute it a little bit more, that would be fine too. I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then make sure they don't lick it for the first 20 minutes while it's doing most of it's absorbing into your skin. Would probably be the best way to do it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Anything else?
So Stacy, are those 2-legged twins that you have, or 4-legged?
They're 2-legged.
Wow.
I know.
She's a busy person.
Oh.
Well, and we have other children too. Our eldest is 25, and then we have a soon-to-be 18-year-old. And so my first marriage left me after 19 years. And then this is my childhood best friend that I'm with now.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, he drove across country to chase. But we ended up having twins at 38 and 40. So
wow.
It's busy. We're busy, but it's a good busy. And my partner is such, like, he's wrangling them right now on the other side of the door here, and he's just so good with them. He never had his own children, so he became an adopted dad, and then we had our own on top of it. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And then we add 2 dogs to the mix.
Yeah, and you already elite with doTERRA. How did you do all that?
I'm a little bit of an overachiever.
Apparently, okay. So
No,
again, Kelly, do you know Stacy?
Well, I was just going to say, Stacy, do you ever come to Calgary? Because that's where I live.
Okay. No, we kind of haven't really been, we haven't been anywhere since all of this craziness started in January for us. Yeah. Well, and we have special needs kiddos. Like they're all on the spectrum, right? They're brilliant kids, but some days are, you're doing what you're doing. And then we homeschooled them all year. So for me, the warm market was easy because being an acupuncturist, I already had, I needed to have access to be able to help my clients. That was the biggest thing. So that part was the easy part. For me, the hard part is finding the legs right now. So getting the memberships was easy, and getting them on other LRPs was easy, but this next step is not so easy because you really do want people who are like us, who are invested in the education and want to present and things like that. That's the hard part.
It is, yeah. But keep plugging away at it. We're all doing the same type of thing. Kelly, are you in doTERRA already?
Yes, I am.
You are, and
yeah, I just joined when Stacy did about 6 weeks ago.
Okay, you did. But so
I've been studying essential oils for 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you finally decided to jump in and start sharing.
Well, I belonged to another company before, and I just bought oils from wherever. But I've been using them and healing. I've saved myself thousands of dollars on vet bills over the years.
See, that's a huge one. I mean, when you realize how expensive it is even to see your vet, I asked him about I wanted to get his teeth cleaned because they recommended, they said he really needs his teeth cleaned. I'm like, well, how much is it? Like, so he's a couple broken teeth. We'll have to extract those and clean his teeth. It'll be $2,500. I'm like, I'm sorry. I have 6 kids. I can't do it. I'm going to do my best myself. And, I'm going to work on kind of rebuilding his teeth, because we do know that with the help of essential oils and a good diet, you can rebuild dentin. It's not easy, and, it might be too late because he's getting kind of old, but we're going to do our very best, so he can be comfortable and everything like that. But yeah, that is so expensive. Just taking your dog to a vet, for any dog or cat, whatever animal you take to a vet, they're more expensive than we are.
Yes, they
Nobody's
are.
subsidizing their care. It's not like, because our healthcare is subsidized and theirs is not. Right? So keeping that in mind. Yeah. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I'll be able to post this when I'm done. If you want me to send it to anybody, let me know, but I'll post it on my YouTube channel. I just have to take out some of the end part. I think that might have been non-compliant, so we'll have to see if it's compliant so I can post it. Okay, so good luck with your doTERRA journeys. Don't give up. Just keep plugging away at it. It'll get there.
Thanks so much for
sharing.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.